Welcome to the Evolve Beyond Limits podcast. I'm your host, Stacy Geisel. This podcast is dedicated to helping you create a life that sets your soul on fire. I believe that is truly possible for everybody, but you have to be willing to do a few things. You have to be willing to let go of your past conditioning. You have to be willing to break free from societal norms. And you have to be willing to get really curious about your life and how you can start to look at it differently. Each week, we will hear stories from people who have done exactly this. People who chose to disrupt the life path they were on, go against the grain, and share the lessons and perspective shifts they had to make along the way. Every episode is committed to not only inspiring you and connecting you with other amazing humans, but actually giving you the tools you need to use this information in your own life so that you continue to evolve and reconnect with your highest self. Are you ready? Let's have some fun. I want to thank you for joining us this week on another episode of the Evolve Beyond Limits podcast. I'm so excited to have you here and just grateful that you are choosing to spend this time with us today. But I'm even more excited to introduce you to this week's guest. Her name is Kate Smith, and she may or may not be my new best friend, whether she knows it or not. She is so relatable, so down to earth, and just a truly badass human. And I know you're going to love her story. Her and her husband spent years doing all the things, doing what they were supposed to do, checking all the boxes until they realized that they wanted more out of their life. And even though it took some time to build it, they are cruising around the country in an Airstream and running this amazing greeting card company that she is just so proud of and bringing smiles to people's faces every single day. So in this episode, we chat about how there's always a downside to even the most amazing opportunities, and you're going to have trade-offs. It's what we call the shit sandwich, and you got to just figure out which one works for you. We talk about how to release judgment from others and pursue what you love. And we also talk about, she gets really honest and vulnerable about the fact that she's still working on the fear of failure. So I am just stoked about this episode. I know that you're going to love it. I hope that you are here to laugh with us and learn with us as we talk about all the adventure that life brings and the twists and turns that makes each chapter so freaking amazing. So let's get down to it. All right, Kate, I am so excited to have you on the show. Thank you for taking time out of your morning to be here with us today. I see you just made your coffee.
I did. It's very key to this conversation.
I want to have you on point. I love it. I love it. Well, at the very beginning, I always like to just allow the listeners to get to know you a little bit better with some questions that are a little bit of a selfish ask from me most of the time, but it also helps everybody else get to know you. So first one is, where are you currently living? Which is actually a really fun question. And because of the conversation we're about to have. And then where are you from originally?
So currently we travel full time in our Airstream. We just hit the 3-year mark in May. And so usually that question is could be varied around anywhere. But currently we are parked actually in our hometown where we're from, which is Lafayette, Indiana, in our in-laws' driveway, because we are remodeling an investment property. So the answer today is a driveway in Indiana.
I feel you're so near and dear to my heart with that. How many driveways we have stayed in our RV is pretty comical. So I love it. Not too far from us currently. So that's probably only 6 hours or so. It's not bad.
5. Yeah, I actually mapped you earlier. I was like, oh, maybe I'll go say hey to Stacy.
Oh my gosh, we should have done this in person.
I know.
That would have been so fun. We could have met for coffee. Oh, that would have been so fun. All right. Well, we might have to make that happen. Yeah. Okay. So if anybody didn't catch that, they travel full time in their Airstream. So this next question is going to be kind of a fun question, but you probably have so many places to choose from. Where has been your favorite place to travel?
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily have to be where you've gone in your Airstream, but.
True. Yeah. So I think it's a really popular question, and I have a couple answers to it. One answer is every place has merit. And that's kind of part of the fun of traveling, is really getting surprised with places that you just didn't expect, or sometimes you just kind of have these pictures of what a place might be in your head built up. At least I did. And sometimes they just get shattered, and it's fantastic when that happens, or you get surprised. But I think that some of my favorite places have been, so Ridgeway, Colorado is on my number one on my list right now. And a short second would be like Taos, Santa Fe area. We really love like that, just that corner, that lower corner where it's like Arizona, Utah, Colorado, and New Mexico. It's just fantastic there.
Oh, that's so good. And I love that you said like every place has merit. It's funny when my sister and I went and we had to go take a road trip to go get our old RV from Missouri. We stopped in Indiana at this like waterfall that I would have never thought was in Indiana.
Yeah.
And it was just like the coolest thing because like you literally have no idea what you're going to find. And I think you're right about that being one of the best things about travel. It's so cool. Okay. What is some place?
The people as well.
Oh, I know, which is how
a whole nother aspect.
I know that it's so true though. Like actually multiple people on this podcast have been people that I have met in travels. And Andrew and I, we heard a quote one time that was just like so powerful. And it was that like you're a combination of the books you read, the people you meet, and the places you go. And I think that is like, it's a really beautiful thing because I feel like I've met some of the coolest people.
I love the way we met, and I feel like we should definitely mention that story before this is done.
Yes, I will. Actually, as soon as we're done with the questions, we're going to dive into how we met because I think people will find it really funny. So, okay, what is one place that you have always wanted to go that maybe you haven't gone quite yet?
Australia.
I think kangaroos.
I've had a savings account. Yeah, I've had a savings account ever since I graduated college. It's called the Australia account. And it's just sitting there and I haven't done it yet. So that's on my list.
Oh my gosh. What are you waiting for?
So exactly.
I asked the hard question.
I know, right? So I think that potentially now answer could have been different at different points in my life. But now I think what's happening is we're kind of doing the US. And then when our puppy, gets old enough that he's no longer with us, I think I want to do international after that. So that's what I think the plan is. We might just go there and live there for a little bit.
Oh my gosh. That sounds amazing. And like to have that kind of flexibility, I think everybody kind of craves that freedom. So very, very cool. Okay. So last couple of questions. One is, what is your favorite book? Just the first one you think of. It doesn't necessarily have to be your favorite.
So the one I've read recently was Where the Crawdads Sing.
I just listened to that.
So fantastic. Did you love it?
I did love it. I realized, and I don't even like to admit this, that I went a very long time without actually reading a fiction book. And but they're so perfect for travel, like on Audible. I'm so in. And yeah, that book was so good.
Yeah, it's like my before bed readings. I really can't, I'm trying to do no screens and I really can't put anything that's not like very wholesome into my brain before bed. Or I will not sleep at all. So that would be my book, I guess, recently. And then one of the weirdest books that has probably had one of the biggest impacts on me has been, it's the autobiography, or maybe, wait, I'm going to mess it up. It's about Lucy Maud, which is the author of the Anne of Green Gables series.
Okay.
Did you ever listen or read those when you were a little girl?
No.
Okay, so she's an author from Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island. And the series is just like, they're just classic. They're like this just coming of age tale of this orphan who finds her way, and just a really like wholesome thing, like that like adults like and kids like too. And so she wrote those books, and I find a lot of crossed over with her and I, because I think that she got a lot of flack for like living in they called it a romanticized world. Like she got a lot of flack from like other authors of like, you write things that aren't real, like this isn't real life, what you're depicting. And she would kind of defend it by saying like, like I can look out my window and I can see there's clouds and there's flowers, but there's trash and there's a sewage plant. But what I see are the flowers and the clouds. And so it's kind of just, to me, it's like, it's all there, but you're just choosing what you see, I guess, or what you focus on, or what you lift up, or what you talk about. And so to me, a lot of her words in that book gave me a lot of like, hey, it's okay to like be doing what you're doing. Cause I've definitely gotten a little flack with the work that I do for like, hey, like life's not good all the time. Like, positivity doesn't work all the time. And I don't believe that. But I do think that finding that in every situation is a really important skill to have. So a very long answer for you about my favorite book.
No, I think that was like, there is so much wisdom in that. And I hope that people, because it's actually funny because I have also been like, and it's a matter of the perspective the lens that you choose to see the world through. Right. And I also have gotten flack for being too joyful and too happy. And the fact that like I've had people say that like true joy is quiet. And I'm like, ooh, like, I think that's more of an opinion than actually a fact, because like, just because I choose to wear my joy on my sleeve doesn't mean that it's not real. Doesn't mean that it's not, that it's fake in any way. And I love that you're saying that, because sometimes when you do have that perspective, it's not that that we believe that the world is all sunshine and rainbows. But we do believe that there's sunshine and rainbows that comes out of every situation, and you just might need time to be able to see it. But I'm with you. I don't believe that there's anything wrong with living that way.
Yeah, it was nice, because sometimes I think too, like, I admittedly am not a very good adult either. Like I don't watch the news. You and I cannot have any sort of a political conversation because I literally just don't know.
Like me either.
And like, honestly, I get a lot of flack for that too, where it's like, hey, like you should be informed about the world. And like part of me is just like, you know what? Like, I know there's pain in the world, and I know that I'm going to put joy into it as my answer. And I don't actually need to know where the pain came from, but I know that I'll just put joy in. And to me, that's enough. And in her book too, it's really amazing because like she struggles with depression and some mental health issues. And I find it wildly interesting because it was back in the day where like they didn't even have a name for that yet. And they didn't have medicine and they didn't have treatment. And she used her world of romanticism as kind of her therapy or her escape. And so to me, it's a really beautiful way to kind of look inside someone's brain and get like this amazing juxtaposition of like, look what she created, but look what her life was, and look how that like danced together. And it's a big one too. Like my grandma's trying to read through it now, and she's like, honey, like I'm trying, like we're getting through there. Like she's like really trying to like power through it because she wants to like understand what I see in it so much.
Yeah.
And she's doing it, but I tell you what, some parts of it are a smidge boring, but there's just some nuggets of wisdom in there that are just so strong that it's like worth getting to the back cover.
Oh, that's so fun. And like, I want to give like your grandma some props for like wanting to understand your point of view. Like, okay, maybe if this might help me understand her a little bit better. And just on like that same note, it's funny because I just had this conversation with the gals in my group on Monday, was like, you don't get to tell other people that it's going to be okay. Right. Like because like nobody wants to hear that, especially when they're hurting, and like, they don't necessarily need that from you, but like, that doesn't like, you get to choose to feel however you want to feel. Like there's no right or wrong to you being like, well, I know that things are going to work out. Like, that doesn't mean you can't have hurt in the meantime, but like, I just say, like, don't tell other people what they should feel, but it's okay for you to feel whatever. And like the whole is funny because I don't watch the news either. I don't like, it's just not something that I subject myself to ever. And I love what you said, like, well, you should know more about this, or you should, it's like that word should is just like, according to who, right? Like because you watch the news, you think that I should watch the news, but like, all anybody ever does is complain about the news. So I don't think it's actually adding joy to the world.
No, it doesn't. And it's just, it's barely news anymore
Ugh,
anyways. But
but we don't know.
I know
So we're not going to talk about that.
no, we don't. I literally, like it would be the worst podcast if you and I try to get into that.
It'd be so bad. Okay. So let's talk about things we do know.
Incorrect podcast.
We'd be like, who's president? Like, I don't even know. No, that one was hard to avoid. But okay. So last question before we dive into your story is what was one of your favorite things to do as a kid?
Oh man. Let's see. I loved being at my grandparents' farm. They had an 88-acre horse farm. And you just could like get into so many things that were like imaginative and like out in nature and like using your hands. Like we used to like swing on grapevines, I think is what they're called, or at least that's what my grandma told us. So it could be totally wrong again. But and it was amazing because like it was kind of like a 60-40 chance that it might break while you were on it. So that was always like a kind of an exciting thing. And then they had like goats and horses, and you could just climb on a horse or go get like blackberries off a bush. And it was just kind of magical.
Yeah. So, oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. I love it. I love it. I love the 60-40 chance. I mean,
right?
You're still more up than down.
So real. Yeah. Like, when you're a kid, it's just awesome. I mean, it's funny to see your friends fall on.
Right. It's so true. There's like nothing better than watching somebody fall, like as long as they're okay. I mean, it's still funny, but like this is why America's Funniest Home Videos is like my favorite pastime. If I'm going to watch something, it's not going to be the news. It's going to be America's Funniest Home Videos.
Oh gosh, I'm really bad because honestly, I hands down will laugh at you if you fall. And I've had people get mad at me where they were like, Kate, you stood over me. Everybody else was rushing to my aid. And I could hear you in the background going, I'm such a jerk.
Yeah, you're not the only person that's like that. So anybody who's listening, we need to hear, like, give us some, please tell us how we're not bad people. No. Okay. All right. So let's talk about how we met for a second. So this is actually a really funny story. So we were Andrew and I were coming through on our 7-week RV trip. We were coming through Camp Verde, Arizona, and we were at an RV park. And I was actually doing one of my Evolve Beyond Limits Academy calls. And there's like this one business center. And it was like the business center, but also the hangout center, but also like it was very multi-purpose. And Kate showed up like a few minutes after I got done dancing in the middle of this center because I start every call with that. And she sat there and listened to me talk. I don't even know. I think I was talking about like the difference between intuition and intellect at the time. Like, I don't even know what I was
talking about. I think like animal talk.
Oh, that was probably in the meditation I was doing. Yes. Okay. So, but afterwards she was like, it was like the greatest feeling. Cause I'm like, okay, this person next to me probably thinks I'm a wackadoo. Like that's for sure. But she was like, oh my gosh, like totally into whatever, all the things you're talking about. And then we just started chatting and we found out that, and then Andrew showed up for some reason. And we found out that Kate actually owns her own like greeting card company, which is so fun. And you guys travel full time in your Airstream. And it was just like it's a little more common to hear that when you're in the middle of an RV park, but it's still not like the most common thing to hear that you guys like that somebody's been traveling in an RV full time for 3 years. So let's like start there. How did that come to fruition? Like, did you just wake up one day and you were like, hey, let's travel in an RV for forever?
So I think what happened was so my husband and I have been together since I was 15 and he was 16. So we're like high school sweethearts, always known each other, just basically kind of grew up together. And so when I say we, that's who I mean. But so we kind of did what I think you should do or you're supposed to do. Like we went to college, we graduated, we got good jobs, we bought a house, we got nice cars, we made more money, we got promotions, and we were part of a country club and kind of like did the things I think that you just think that that's how it goes, like that's what you should do. And I think like we had started our own business at that point, but it was a little more like on the side. It wasn't, funding us financially, solely by any means. And so we just kind of had this, like, I don't know, like there was just sort of this, like, really, like, this is it. Like, I feel like we've checked the boxes, but like, this is it. This is how it feels. And it was just like this extra little gnawing in your belly of like, I just think there's more out there. And for me, I've always been like a really self-reflective, like probably overthink life sort of a person, the whole vision board thing. And I just thought to myself, if I'm like 90 on my deathbed and I haven't seen the world, like shame on me. That's going to be like one of my biggest regrets. And I'm just not prepared to stomach that. And so we decided that I don't actually know how I came up with the idea, but I pitched it to Ryan and Ryan was super game. So it took us probably about 2 years to turn the ship because it's kind of a ship to turn when you have a life kind of plugged into all these areas. And so we moved from a house, we downsized, we found a property that we could rent out. We sold like 99.5% of all of our things. We transitioned my business into something that could be fully mobile, and then kind of worked to grow the funds so that he could quit his job. And then eventually just got to a point where we were like, okay, like how can we make this happen in six months? Like, the rubber's hitting the road. We're leaving on our anniversary. How can we make this happen? And it's kind of an amazing question to ask yourself because most things are possible in a much shorter time frame than you actually think. And so you kind of just strip out all the baloney and really get to like what it's going to take. And so we did. And in 6 months on our anniversary, pulled out of our house in an Airstream and didn't actually know how it was going to totally work out, if we were going to like love it or hate it. But just knew that like it was a desire we needed to see through and we were going to give it a chance.
Oh, so many things that can be taken out of that. The first one I just want to like pull out is that I'm so glad that you talked about the fact that it took time. It took 2 years for you to, because this is something that like people don't hear that part. They see somebody with where they are. And then it literally is, we tend to think that somebody just woke up one day, made that decision and like it all worked out for them. But like, I love that you're bringing through this, that it was a process. It was a process to get from A to B. But like you said, it's kind of like, do you think looking back, if you would have asked yourself, how can we make this happen in 6 months at the beginning of the 2 years, that you would have been able to make it happen in 6 months?
I mean, probably from a logistical standpoint, but maybe not from like an emotional kind of being ready standpoint potentially. And maybe not because we had a house that we sold to get the equity out of, and then we kind of downsized to a smaller house that we could rent out. So that wasn't the perfect real estate setup from the beginning. So I think some of it needed to be that length of time. But it was a good exercise in proving that sometimes fear is a lot of what takes up that time.
Yeah. And I think you're right. And it's funny because I've actually had this conversation so many times lately, is like, maybe you're just not ready. Right. And like, it's okay because like as souls, we come to earth to learn lessons and like, we don't get, and like, everybody's always looking for the steps that they can skip to get to whatever it is we put this like word there to. Right. And so they're trying to like, but we all have a process to go through. And so I like that you were like, I love that you were honest about the fact that like, that probably couldn't have happened earlier. And it's so, the Steve Jobs quote, like we can't connect the dots looking forward, but looking backward, you can see that things really did work out exactly how they needed to for you.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I love that quote. And it's it's so frustrating when you're in it, because it's like, what is the quote? You can't see the forest for the trees or something like that. Like when you're in it, you're just like, you just want to know why, and you need a time frame, and you'd like a plan, and you'd like to see what's going to happen. But yeah, you're right. Looking back, it's always quite revealing as to why.
Yeah. And you're right. Like when you're stuck in the weeds and you're stuck in the middle of it, it's like, is this ever going to end? And it's a matter of, that's when we have to be able to look at life, not as an end result. Like we have to look at every season. It gives us something that we can learn, that we can take from it. But we're so busy trying to get to the next season that we can't like sit and appreciate that. Maybe even if like you're growing a business, like maybe things being a little bit slower right now is actually exactly what you need. Because if you were making, $20, $30, $50,000 a month, like you would not be okay. You're just not there yet. And that's okay. Right.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So something that you...
No, I think that...
Go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead. I don't even remember you. Lost my train of thought too.
Moving on. That was quick. Okay. So was something that you said to me, something that you said to me that night that has like, I love, is you talked about the shit sandwich, right? Like you're like, there's always a shit sandwich to things. And so like, can you elaborate more on like what you meant by that? Cause I think we were talking about, the travel, right? And like, not always having Wi-Fi and like always like having to find different ways and be creative to try to find stuff. So what did that like, just tell us more.
Yes. So I have this like, I guess theory, and I'm sure I read it or heard it somewhere. And I guess it makes really sense to me. So hopefully it makes sense to everyone else. But I think that there is a shit sandwich that you have to eat in every situation in life. And that means that nothing is perfect. So like if even your best ideal situation is going to have some sort of a downside. And so the goal of life is essentially just finding the shit sandwich that you want to eat every day. Like what is the most tasty shit sandwich to you that you don't mind having to eat every day in order to have the life that you want? Because it doesn't come without it. And so like, I guess to show you how that applies to my life. So when I was at home before we left, my shit sandwich was that I had this gnawing feeling in my belly of that there was a bigger life out there and more things for me to experience and do, and I wasn't fulfilling my potential. And that was a painful shit sandwich to eat. My shit sandwich now is that I have to endure so more change and instability than my personality probably loves. So, a lot of things change in our life, our physical location, our where we get groceries, if our Wi-Fi works. We live in a tiny little space together, and we're also dependent on our own business now, which is its own form of instability. Nobody's signing a paycheck for me every week. It's totally, we're making it work for ourselves. And so there's some fear wrapped up in that. There's some instability and insecurity wrapped up in that. But that is the shit sandwich that I prefer to the latter.
Yes. Yes. I love that. Like that's one you're willing to swallow. Right. So I think that is so important. And that's life. So like our shit sandwich hit right when we were recording, we had to take a little pause there. But it's so funny because I love that you bring up this thing, because you're right. Like, I don't think there's always going to be something that's not ideal. And when Andrew and I were traveling, like we felt that same pressure. I didn't feel it nearly as much because I own my own business, and the way that I kind of roll, like the women that I get to work with, I'm so blessed because they are like the most understanding, amazing people in the world. They're like, okay, like if we have to switch some things around, we can do that. But for Andrew,
Yeah.
it was difficult, right? He had a job to report to, and thank goodness we could he was able to travel, and they gave him that flexibility, and like COVID allowed us that. But yeah, there were times when we were riding up to a hotel to find some Wi-Fi, like just enough to get him through, right? But that was, like you're saying, like we were willing to eat that shit sandwich because to us being on the road and getting to experience all of these other things. Like Andrew was at a point at home where, well, we both were, we were going stir crazy. Like we were going to lose it. And like our mental capacity just wasn't there. So, okay, I have a question because I feel like it's funny because you and your husband, you met super young and you guys had to like grow up together. And it's funny because Andrew and I met at 18 and 20, and we essentially had to also, like we met super young. We were married by 21 and 23. And like, so we've had this relationship too, where we have to kind of like, you grow up together because you are not your full self at any of those ages. Right.
No.
So, but I know a question that I like the women are thinking right now is like, how did you get your husband on board? Because I know my husband, Andrew, like it took some working because they're very stability. They like the security. They like that. So like, what was that experience like for you?
So it's actually a little reverse than our relationship. So he always puts it this way: is I'm the one that has the ideas and he's the one that sees them through or executes. So we're a really good pair in that way, where I kind of am like the dreamer, where I would have the big idea, but then maybe potentially get a little scared to actually execute it. But he will execute like no other and drag me through when I get scared. And so we're a pretty good pair in that way. So I don't know, he just was on board. He's not really like a traditional kind of guy. He likes to go against the grain, and to the point where like if somebody tells him to do something, he'll stubbornly do the opposite just because he just doesn't like to be told what to do. So it was actually wildly easy to get him to do it. It was probably a little scary for him to quit his job, as he was the breadwinner before we did this kind of switch. But I think that, so yeah, I guess it's not the answer you were hoping for. Definitely, it was not very hard. And I would say that I was the one that actually kind of had more fear and like feet dragging after the process started moving, of like, holy crap, like this is really happening. Are we sure? He's like, no, we're in, we're going. So yeah, he was no problem.
No, I think that's great. I think that's I wasn't expecting any answer. I just think that it's like it's fun to see how the dynamic can be. And like, there is always, and this is where I love couples who there's gotta be somebody, right? That's willing to be like, let's take the risk, or else both people just sit there in fear, right? Like they always talk about the fact that like, I think Brene Brown actually talks about this, about how like having percentages almost in your life. And like, if you were to talk to like your husband, like you were to come home from like a rough day, you're like, I've got like 50% to give. Right? Like that's all I have to give. And then the other person's like, okay, well, good, because I have like 100 to give. So like I can make up for your other like 50% and whatever that is. And like, I'm just saying that because I think sometimes even in these types of situations, like there's always going to be somebody who's more hesitant. And in those moments, somebody else has to be the rock, the one that's not going to let fear get in the way. But then there's going to be times when it's vice versa, right? Where the person's going to be dragging their feet and it's like, I don't think I can do this. And that person needs you in that moment to push them a little bit to make it happen. So I think that's amazing.
And I think it's cool too when relationships can switch. I actually think they have to switch probably. So like him and I have switched roles a few times where, he's the breadwinner, I'm the breadwinner. He's the one that's that's strong. I'm not. And then there's been a few times I really don't prefer it, but I would so like when he gets stressed or has fear, or it's not that often, but there was a time when we were getting ready to leave for this trip where he looked at me and he was, Kate, I need you to be strong. And I was like, oh shit.
I'm not ready to be tapped in yet.
I'm not. I'm like, okay, well, yeah. And it's like when you're not the one that usually, not that I'm not strong, but I mean, he really is like the steady one, like the rock kind of. And so I'm just like, when you see that rock kind of wavering, you're like, oh God, okay, I hope I have some good footing here so that I can like step in. But yeah, I think it's good to be able to switch it back and forth when you need to. You're right.
Yeah. And I think that's cool that he was even able to say, like, I'm going to need some support here, like, because I'm losing it, right? Like, if we could all say that a little more often, not just to our spouses, but like,
I can't. Well, yeah. And I think like he's just like, look, I'm holding my stuff together. I don't have the bandwidth to hold you too. Like, I need you to be strong. Like, okay, I'll do it.
Yeah. I'll do it. If that's what it takes, that's what it takes. Oh, good. Okay. So what do you feel like was one of the biggest like perspective shifts you had to make living in an RV full time?
Perspective changes. So I think one of the things is that, and I don't know if it was, well, okay. So there was a point in my life where I thought that life kind of was very linear. And I think it can be for some people. One thing led to another. One thing you did built to something greater on the same path. And it all kind of looked the same. You just got better at what you did, or it got bigger, you made more money, or I don't know. And what I've realized is that life is got chapters, and they can look wildly different than each chapter. Like each chapter can be so different from the other, and that is perfectly fine. It doesn't mean that you've failed. It doesn't mean that you've gone off course. It doesn't mean that these chapters weren't meant to sit next to each other. It's kind of makes a more beautiful book, I think, if they are wildly different. And so for me, it's been a little bit of a perspective shift in that way, because to be honest with you, when we left, I felt a lot like, gosh, I have no clue what I'm doing with my life. Like right now, like I have a business and we're doing this, but I feel like a freaking 20-year-old who just graduated college and is doing some stupid thing. And I'm like near 40, like, come on, like get your life together, Kate. Like, what are you doing? It seemed like really, not reckless, but like something you do when you're like 20, and to me, I had to realize that it's not an indicator that I'm like digressing in life by taking that risk or by doing a thing that makes me feel wildly uncertain. It's actually what you should do. I think that you should, like, I guess I'm going to do a tiny bunny trail here, but I have thought a lot about this, like at the end of my life, like what will be my like judgment of if it's been a successful life. And for me, if I have nothing left in my brain, no funny idea, no weird thought of like, I should do this, or this would be cool to do, or I should definitely make this, then I think that's a great life. It's been successful for me. And so I think my goal now is to just like anything that is in my brain that would be cool to do, I'm going to try to do it. And that might make my chapters wildly different. And I think that's going to make a beautiful book. And I think that's okay. And it might make me seem like I don't know what I'm doing multiple times in a row, because I'm not going to know. They're new and I'm trying them. And maybe people from the outside view that as a stupid thing to do or something that you shouldn't do when you're close to 40. maybe, maybe they think I should have a house and a mortgage and a whole like stable situation. I don't know. But to me, I just think that that's the kind of life I'd prefer now. And I think that my perspective shift has been that that's okay.
Mm. Wow, that was like really powerful. It really was. Like I love all of those analogies and that because it really like things can look a little bit messy from the outside in, but like when you're following your heart, it's okay. Like, and I think that's like my favorite thing about what you just said is like it's okay for things not to look like they're in alignment and not to look like they're like this like beautiful picture perfect thing because they're not. But one thing that you said to me when we were talking, it sounds like we had like hours worth of conversation. We probably talked for like 20 minutes. Like I was like, one other thing, like we got a lot in, but
fast.
it really did. Was you said that like there's something about waking up every day and saying, wow, this is my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like that hit me. And obviously it has stuck with me since we had that conversation because I remember when we were traveling, like feeling that way and feeling different things. And the reality is that who gives a rat's ass whether it looks messy? That's not even a word. Messy from the outside because the reality is there's not very many people that can look at their life and say, wow, this is my life. And that is how they feel all day, every day. So girl, if you are living that, like, hallelujah. Nobody should be questioning your decisions, not you either.
Yeah. Well, that's true, I guess. I mean, I guess I don't feel euphoric all day, but I think what I was sharing with you too is that is a new thing that happened when we left on this kind of adventure, changed our life, is that there are definitely moments like very frequently, honestly, where I will look at Ryan and be like, this is Monday night. Like, this is Monday night, Ryan. And we are on our mountain bikes looking over a beautiful vista of mountains. And it took us 5 minutes to get here. And we closed our computers at 5. Like, this is Monday. And like, you kind of look back at like what your Monday used to look like, or like you wake up in the morning and you get to have like he does like stretching and some meditation and like reading. And you get to have like a morning where like I only saw my grandma having when she was retired. And not to say that we sit around and take a 4-hour morning, but it's not where you're running out the door to get to your job and you're not fighting traffic and it's a much more like beautiful way to start your day. And so I guess, yeah, like I think that's probably my new bar is like, does it make you go like, oh my gosh, like this is what I'm doing. Like, this is really cool. Like, and to me, like, that's not something I was saying before. And so to me, that's something I had made a mental note of like, okay, like that's probably the new bar for me.
Mm. That's so good. It's actually funny. I was talking to somebody yesterday and I said, like, there's times often that I wake up in the middle of the night and I like hope it's morning because I'm like, because I'm like so excited to like, I love my mornings. I love what I do. I love like the life that I'm living. And like, it has taken a long ass time to get there. And don't get me wrong. There are moments that I'm like, what am I doing? Like, same thing as what Kay said, like, what am I doing with my life? Like, what is going on here? Yeah. But more times than not, like I said, I'll wake up at 3 a.m. and be like, I hope it's morning time because like, I just want to get rolling. Right. And I think that's a really special place to be. So thank you for sharing that because I truly believe everybody has the ability to make that their life. They just you have to start to look at things different. Right. And, yeah. So
I think that's why I was so drawn to you too. I was thinking about this before we got on this podcast and I was like, I remember when I was sitting next to you and you like did like a meditation, like you had been like running around trying to get Wi-Fi and you sat and did a meditation before you started. And I was like, OMG, I think I just became best friends with this girl because part of me like loves that you were confident enough just to sit there and like do your thing in front of other people because that's like actually something I'm trying to work on too is like making myself uncomfortable. And growing in that way of like not caring so much as what people think. And so part of me loved that you did that, number one. And then the other part is like, you just did what you did. And I could tell that you were so into it. And like, I was like, it's just very like, it's magnetism, I think. And I think the more that people can kind of step into that, the more people have a point of reference for loving what you do, or, living a life that you love. And I think that they maybe see it's possible. So
Oh,
good. I love
you.
what you're doing is what I'm trying to say. Yes.
You're so sweet. You're so sweet. And it's funny because it took me a long time to get there. Right. Like, because I lived most of my life trying to prove myself to others. And so I had such a fear of judgment, like being judged for what I was doing, that I wasn't willing to just be me. And so it took a lot of like practice. And I'm sure like in that moment in my head, like more than 5 times, I was probably like, people are looking at me funny. But again, like that's the whole thing. Like, but you do it anyways. Right. And actually I was thinking about this because my new, like our electric bikes, I was riding it down the street the other day, and I ride it almost every single day to like this coffee shop. And I'm on like a main road, and I have my headphones in, and I'm like singing, and like no one else can hear the headphones, but I'm also like, but for like, there's a time in my life I wouldn't have done that, because like, I'd be like, oh, who's like, all these people are going by me and they're watching me. And I'm just like, who cares? Like, like we are going to be judged for no matter what we do. Like if I go down the street with resting bitch face, I'm going to be judged. If I go down the street, like if my joyful self singing out loud to nobody, like I'm going to be judged. I really don't care. Like I'm good.
Yeah. I love that so much. I love it. Sometimes, not to get on too much of a tangent, but this stuff geeks me out. These exercises in making like kind of exposing yourself to these little snacks of like uncomfortableness so that you can kind of get more used to like not caring. So my counselor that I work with had me do this awesome exercise where you go to the grocery store and you get a few balloons, and then you do your whole grocery shopping with these dumb helium balloons bouncing around and like blowing in your face when you go too fast, and you just walk the entire store. And it is kind of like embarrassing at first because you're like, okay, yeah, why is this person not getting the dumb balloons when they check out? Why are they literally like taking the balloons through the entire aisle and they're bumping into people's heads in the cereal aisle? And you feel so like on spotlight. But after you do it like time after time again, you get kind of like, like whatever, I'm gonna get my balloons and I'm heading to produce. And it's such a fantastic exercise. And it's like actually one of my favorites because it kind of makes people smile if you pick some fun balloons. So like I would pick the one that like the dog ones that don't don't get they don't go up all the way. They stay like kind of low on the ground and like they go behind you. And that's funny shit. That like makes people's day. And so part of me like loves being a little uncomfortable and silly in the name of like making someone else's day a little better.
It's like so true because, so I like, if anybody follows me on Instagram, you have seen Cooper, our French bulldog, in his backpack with his goggles on. And I was like, I do this for me, but I really do this for other people because I'm not kidding. Like that sight of him is like, it makes people so freaking happy. And I'm like, I love people who are like walking around, shining a little bit of brightness on this world. Like even now I might just do the balloon thing just because I want to see people smile and we can actually see people's faces again. So I'm like really excited about that.
It is such a good one. And then if you want to like amp it up even more, just buy the balloons and give them to somebody at the end. That's the extra bonus. Balloons are just a happy thing, I think.
Balloons. Okay. Actually, I did a photo shoot with balloons. By the time this airs, it'll be a couple weeks ago, poor Andrew. Oh my gosh. This was a fiasco. I didn't know that. Like, I thought you just walked into a dollar store and you bought some balloons. Apparently that's not actually the case. Like, they're like, no, they only have like the Mylar balloons. And I'm like, well, they sell the other balloons. Can you just buy them and have them fill them? And he's like, no. So he had to go to Party City. And apparently it takes 45 minutes to get balloons filled. So by the time we got the balloons, it was like the photo shoot was almost over. We had like 5 minutes to use them. But what's so funny is we tied them onto the back of my our little motorcycle bikes. And I'm I'm riding down downtown Detroit with these balloons. And next thing, like I nail this, because it was pretty windy that day. Like I nailed this telephone pole with them and like 5 of them go like flying off. And I was just like, this is not what I envisioned, but balloons make everything more fun. Like it created a story. So I always think too, I remember the first time I ever went to like out to eat by myself. And I was like,
yeah,
oh, this feels weird. Like, and I feel like that's another one of those things. Like if you want to get yourself a little bit uncomfortable, like it's one thing to go to like a coffee shop by yourself. It's a whole nother thing to like have dinner by yourself.
Yes. Oh,
I've never done it.
Out on that. There's also a Tim Ferriss exercise that he did where he lays in the middle. So I think it might have been like Central Park in New York or some like very like trafficked area. And he just lays down. That's it. Just lays down. And I have not had the balls to like do that yet. Like my counselor was like, why don't you lay down in the grocery store? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not ready for this. I'm not. I can do the balloons, but I'm not laying down in produce. And I go, what if someone like asks if I'm okay? And he goes, say you're okay.
Oh my gosh, I'm literally dying laughing. Like I don't know that I'm ready for that one either. Like, I don't know if I could just lay down in the middle of a grocery store and be like, if somebody asked me, I'd be like, I'm meditating.
That's what he said. I said, what if they get like the store like manager to like come to me? And he goes, tell them you're okay.
I just needed to lay down for a second. I'm fine. I just needed to ground into this grocery store.
I know. So my counselor is on another level than me.
Let me ask you this. Has your counselor has he laid on the floor of a grocery store?
I'm going to ask him next time we talk, to be honest with you. I'm betting you he has done something like that because he is just like one of those where he's just like a little baby Buddha, like just a Zen mode dude.
I love it. Oh my gosh. Well, you have to fill me in on that. Oh my gosh. That was so good. I don't think I've laughed that hard on an interview yet. So that was so good. And the next thing you guys know, Andrew's going to be filming me laying on in the grocery
Dude, if you do some sort of challenge like this with your group, I'm super in because I will work on this too. Like, I just love it. It geeks me out and I just think you're better for it. Like karaoke, like wear a bikini. Like there's so many things that you can do that are just like make you little. I love it.
Oh, this has been so fun. Okay. All right. Okay. I could talk to you all day and like laugh all day for real. But I always like to end, like I want to honor your time. And I like to end with one final question, which is, what is one lesson you feel like you're still in the middle of learning right now?
Oh gosh. So still in the middle of learning that I've struggled a lot with failure and what I deem as failure. And my first greeting card line from Frank didn't go the way I expected it to. It did not go badly by any stretch of the imagination. It actually was pretty wildly successful. But it didn't end up the way I thought it would. And that was us all together as millionaires going off on a yacht called From Frank. I literally was so in on it that I just thought, this is it. This is my ticket to whatever. And it wasn't. And that's okay, is what I'm learning. But I'm also learning that like we've redone our business and we've opened it up to where it's Kate Smith Company. And now I can make humans smile in a plethora of ways. But this may not also go exactly how I think it's going to go either. And I think what I'm still working on is like, how am I categorizing this to myself and how am I digesting it? Am I going to see it as a failure again? And then is that going to like make me feel like I can't do something else again? Or am I going to be like, no, this was just a dot and it's going to connect. So I still struggle with that. And then also like kind of tying it to my self-worth. Definitely.
Yeah. And I think that's something that a lot of people are going to resonate with, because it's not an easy place to be. And I used to be terrified of failure, like even the thought of it, because in our society, especially, like we're taught that failing is bad. And like you said, like what is really failure? And you have to define like what that is for you.
Well, I have
And
a really good metaphor if you'll give me 2 more seconds. So
get it.
this is my metaphor for failure that I just think is perfection. So say you have a bike and you are going to ride it to a tree, but you've never ridden a bike before. So you're going to start on your bike and you're probably going to go for like 12 inches and put your foot down. Did you fail? Is that it? Are you done? Or are you going to just keep trying and you're probably going to put your foot down a few more times before you get to the tree? So it's like, to me, that's like what it is. You put your foot down, but that doesn't mean that you stop trying. It doesn't mean that you stop trying to ride the bike. It doesn't mean that you won't get to the tree. You put your foot down, and it's like a tiny little baby blip in what it is that you're doing. So that helps me put it into perspective.
I love that. We're gonna leave it at that with all of the Kate Smith wisdom. So I have a feeling that people are just gonna want to know more about you and just like even follow along with your adventures. Like how can we find your greeting cards and all the things? Like how can people find you?
So katesmithcompany.com is the website. And then Instagram is where we're most probably active. And it's just at katesmithcompany.com as well. So
perfect. And I'll make sure that I link that up in the show notes so everybody will be able to connect with you. And I just cannot thank you enough for being here and spending this time with us today, because you brought just so many nuggets and so much wisdom that I know people are going to take a lot from this and be like, wow, there is such a different way to look at life and look at different things. So thank you for that. And I'm just beyond grateful.
Big honor to talk with you as well. I so appreciate you and so glad to know you.
Only getting good to go up from here. I love it. Welcome back to the Evolve Beyond Limits podcast post show. So there's about 14 million things that I could take from that interview with Kate. But the thing that I want to really just elaborate on a little bit here is this whole aspect of like being like different chapters in your book and being like not really knowing until you try it. Right? Like it's funny because before Andrew and I took off on our 7-week RV trip, like we had this expectation in our head on how things were going to go. But the reality is we didn't know anything, because the only thing we know is our past conditioning, the things that we've already been through. We don't know what's coming. Right? But when we got back, we learned a lot of things that we wouldn't have known unless we took that trip. We learned that we don't want to do that full time. We don't want to not have a home and only have an RV. Like that's just not for us. We want to have both. We want a home base, and then we also want to travel, right? We now know that what we want to do is 1000% possible. It is possible for us to have all of those things in our life that are important to us. We know what kind of RV we actually want, right? Going in, we were in a 30-foot Class C, and now we are in a 19-foot Class B. But how did we know that? Because we realized something while we were gone. We like to be either in the middle of nowhere or in a downtown area, and we couldn't do either of those things with a 30-foot RV. So we made an adjustment and we kept moving forward, right? So my whole point is that like, if you're waiting for things to be perfectly figured out before you start anything, then you're wasting so much time and energy. You learn so much more by just going for it. Right? So often we're just like waiting for that perfect moment. We want it all to look perfect before we put it out there, but you are going to have to go through it and understand that you're just going to have to make adjustments along the way. And that's part of the fun of it. Don't be scared of that. That's okay. Right? Whether that be a business, a lifelong dream, whatever that looks like, you're going to have to make adjustments and adaptations along the way. But how are you ever going to know if something is for you if you don't try it out? right? How will you ever know if the business is going to work out if you never give it a chance? We overthink it. We overthink so much. And trust me, I have been there. But how many times have you not done the thing because you got caught up in the steps that it was going to take for you to get there? I have done this so many times, but my challenge to you is don't focus on the steps and just start moving in the direction that you want to go, because you will never regret that. You might not know where you're going and it might look a little bit messy, but really, who cares? Like Kate said, it just makes your book a little bit more interesting. So, your journal prompt for this week, I want you to think about what is something that has been on your heart that you've been avoiding? What have you avoided starting? And what is stopping you? And then I want you to think about what is one step in that direction that you could take this week. Okay, if you want these journal prompts and others dropped straight to your phone, make sure that you shoot me a text message at 248-206-3431. You can just text Journal 2021 and we will add you into that group where you'll get these dropped directly to your phone so you don't have to try to remember them. And it's a good reminder of taking that time to reflect and really get to know yourself really well. So, lastly, keep in mind that for every rate, review, and subscribe, we are donating $5 to Reality's Chance Rescue and Sanctuary. Plus, it just means the world to us to have your support. And if you could help change someone's day by sending this episode to one person you know will take something from it. And we would love to hear your thoughts, your biggest revelations, your aha moments that you had by tagging myself and Kate Smith on Instagram. We would love to hear what you took away from this episode. And until the next episode, keep evolving.